Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently prepared to go orbit the moon as we intended to do last episode, but that ended up being kind of a orbital dry run, if you will. But we can get Bill kicked out of here, get Bob on in, and we can lift this thing off, and this should easily do moon orbits. Absolutely no problem whatsoever there. We'll launch this right on off. So the question, of course, becomes here, how does this ascent go? We know that our previous ascent was quite underpowered. I'm interested in checking on our thrust to weight ratio. I don't remember what that thrust to weight ratio was, actually, now that I think about it. What is this? 1.27. Ooh, that's kind of low. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not shocked about that. We have a lot of fuel in this upper stage. A lot of fuel. And these are swivels. So, I mean, it's enough to get us off the pad, but it's not going to get us going very fast. That said, it doesn't have to. We just have to get going here reasonably fast. 1.27 is going to be slow. But let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's not that bad. That's doable. I definitely feel like that's doable. So we're going to go straight up here for a little bit, and it's going to be a little longer than normal before we get our gravity turn underway. That'll be approximately, I usually like to do it about now. And we'll just head on over here. It's definitely a little bit weak off the pad. I'm not going to lie about that. But that anemic off the pad power, assuming we properly get this thing into orbit, does mean that it's going to be pretty good as far as the orbital power goes. And that's what's important, if we get there. All we need to do is get there, right? So I'm just adjusting us slightly here to try to pull us down. We're at 92 degree heading. We need to be more like 90. We're going to have our side boosters detaching in about 15 seconds here. So let's position ourselves prograde. Are we too horizontal right now? We don't have a huge amount of apoapsis height here, but our time to apoapsis is improving. 3, 2, 1, mark. Off go the side tanks. Time to apoapsis is decreasing. So we're going to park here at this 45 degree marker for a bit. It's still decreasing, but only just. Okay, there it's going back up. Cool. That's where we want to be. Our thrust to weight here is still quite low. We're not shocked about that. All we're trying to do is get the altitude that we need to use all of this fuel relatively efficiently. It's a huge amount of fuel. We're weak off the pad. We knew that that would be the case. This first stage definitely still needs a little bit of work. I'm not shocked about that in the slightest. But we do have 70 seconds of burn left in it here. And our thrust to weight is going up. 40 kilometer apoapsis now. It's getting better. It's getting better. So if we were to head over to prograde now, how are we doing on our time to apoapsis? Still increasing. Okay, cool. So that'll do just fine. We're going to chill in the orbital apoapsis here, or rather orbital prograde, not apoapsis. That's a weird word to use there. And now we're at the thrust to weight that I usually like to be on the pad. It's definitely a little anemic. No doubt about that. We're getting a good amount of horizontal speed here. We're still pushing up that time to apoapsis. I'm a little concerned about our altitude. 60 kilometers right now, with only 20 seconds of burn left in this first stage. I want to try to get a little bit more altitude here. So I'm going to park us here for the moment. That puts us up in space. Okay, now I'm comfortable going back. 77, 78, 79. Yeah, this looks good. We'll just burn here until this burns out, and then cut the throttle and coast. Really? I went with this model? Okay, that probably needs to be changed. That's okay for now. So, at the apoapsis, we are going to, of course, burn and circularize. Something along the lines of this will do. And we'll just head on over to the marker here. It's a little slow to turn. I'm not shocked about that. This is saying start burn in 1 second. I don't think that's quite accurate. We're going to wait until we're in space. Cool. We're 2 kilometers away right now. This should update. It should be fine. And, okay, 1 minute, 6 seconds. Good. So we will warp on forward here until our burn time is a little closer. 30 seconds. 20. 10. And let's come out of warp, reposition ever so slightly here, and commence burn. Beautiful. And look at that, 2,500 meters per second. Yeah, it's going to take us about another 400 to make it into orbit, but this leaves us with 2,000 meters per second to do whatever we want with. That is a lot of delta V at this point, so I'm very pleased about that. That first stage, it could be juiced up a little bit. Thrust to weight is low. I'm not shocked about that, though. We could potentially think about swapping the swivels in the outer stages to Reliance. That would improve things somewhat. We could also think about slapping on a couple of SRBs if we wanted to, like, really heavy lift it. It's a possibility. That's for sure. But we're out here for science. And science is what we'll get. Did I grab these up through the atmosphere? No, I did not. Okay, that's fine. We'll have plenty of other attempts to do that. I say attempts. We'll have plenty of other opportunities to do that, is the proper word. Okay, this should be good enough. Yeah, we're in a decent enough orbit. Let's go ahead and grab this data from In Space Near. And we'll collect that data. And we'll have Bob EVA and reset it. There's only so much of this data that we can collect, but we want to get what we can. So we'll restore the Science Junior and restore the Mystery Goo container unit. Beautiful. And then Bob will head back on in. There we go. I hit the free camera button for a moment there. But now we need to head out to the moon. And on the way, we'll grab our in-space high data. So when we go to the moon, we're going to want to burn sometime around here-ish. That's a awkward burn. Okay. What does that actually look like? Ooh, that's nice, actually. 38 kilometers. I'm not sure what high orbit actually is. I'm going to dial this into being about 30 kilometers. I'm pretty sure that's within low orbit of the moon. In fact, we can check in here, right? It's in here somewhere. We'll need to perform an orbital survey, yeah. But what I'm interested in is... I mean, there's no atmosphere. I actually don't think it says what the low orbit is. That's a little sad, but that's okay. So we'll position for this burn. 9 minutes, 40 seconds until the burn. And let's warp. Cool. So yeah, we've got about 2,000 meters per second, as expected. More than enough. More than enough. So this will be great. It'll take us 850 of that to get to the moon, a little bit more to break, and then a little bit more to get home, and then we'll have plenty for a radial retrograde burn on the way in. So I'm quite pleased with this. 40 seconds to go. 10 seconds. And angling here. 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. A little bit of oscillation here. I don't necessarily love that, but it seems to be okay. I would definitely choose a different model if I could right now, but we'll change that when we get back. Assuming I remember. I may or may not remember. This one just doesn't look that great connected in here like that. The same engine, just a different cosmetic model is what I would choose. 500 meters per second to go here. Well, 500 meters per second as of now. Cool. Just continuing to point at the correct direction here. Our thrust to weight is quite low, 1.06. Actually, 1.06. Wow. Okay, that's higher than I thought it would be. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. But we are speeding up nicely here. And our apoapsis is going to reach the target point quite soon. 200 meters per second now. A reasonably lengthy burn, and this would be a lot easier if Jeb was smart enough to lock to the maneuver node. He is not. He'll get there eventually. Hello, Moon. Feels a little late to be seeing you in this burn, but sure. It's probably just not quite perfectly efficient timing. That's okay. I'm not too concerned about that. We're getting this last little bit of burn done here. 2 meters per second. 1 meter per second. And there we go. How's that? 42 kilometers. Okay. I'm going to lock to prograde here and just very gently burn this on in. There we go. We'll call that good. Now we should begin a warp, but I want to warp to about here. The reason I want to warp to here is because we're going to need to grab this in-space high data. There's not a lot of it left, but we'll grab what there is. There we go. And we will collect all of that. We should actually be pointing retrograde at this point. And we'll have Bob EVA as soon as we're done with this turn. I mean, we could do it now. That's reasonably fine. Did we collect the data? I can't remember. Yes, apparently. Cool. So we'll let go, and Bob will head on over this direction. Restore the data. And restore the data. Excellent. And back in we go. Cool. So now we're going to need in-space high over the moon data. So we warp to here. And this will give us quite a lot of data here, for sure. As soon as we get there, we'll grab all of it that we can. Here we go, loading into the moon's sphere of influence. Cool. Crew report, mystery goo observation, material study. We already have the other science from here. For now. We'll see if we can grab any of this others, but for now, this will do. We'll grab our EVA report, and we will let go here. Now we're going to grab... Actually, I don't think I collected this data. Collect data. There we go. We're going to restore this and restore this. There we go. And we'll observe the mystery goo. And we're going to collect that data. Conduct the material study. We'll restore the mystery goo. Collect the data and restore. And then we'll close this. And this data is going to be stored in our capsule. We've already got some data for this, and we need to climb up a bit. We've already got some data for this in our experiment storage unit, but now we have data stored in the capsule as well. Excellent. There's more data that we can grab, but we're better off doing in-space low. So at this point, we want to get ourselves into orbit here. So we want to do a braking burn around here, and I want to get this relatively circularized. Beautiful. Do we want a rendezvous? We could theoretically do a rendezvous here with this satellite just to complete this contract. You know what? We may as well. So that would mean that we would circularize around here. We'd need to push this periapsis back up, but this seems relatively doable. So we'll position for the burn position here. And I do want to see, when are we going to dip into low orbit? What do we have here? Because I want to make sure that we get our data. That is high priority, of course. In space near the moon's highlands. Okay, so we're going to have Bob EVA and grab that immediately, because that may change. The rest of these we're going to grab. Oh, this is Midlands right now. So we grab that EVA report, material study as well. Our burn is going to be in 2 minutes here, so that is enough time. We're going to collect this data. We're going to grab Bob here. Bob is going to let go, and come on back over this way, Bob. There we go. We'll open that all up. We'll restore our Science Junior. We will restore our Mystery Goo containment unit and conduct our material study and observe our mystery goo. Let those animations finish. We collect the data, restore, and collect the data, restore. And then this is the best that we're going to get for in-space near here, most likely. So we're going to grab on here. We're going to board. As soon as the game lets us. There we go. We're going to board. We're going to grab both of these again, and those will just be stored here. Beautiful. So we've got all 3 copies of those data that we can, or I should say that data that we can. We're 1 minute out from this burn. And 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. This is a pure retrograde burn, so I'm just going to lock to retrograde for right now. And we're not looking to enter a full orbit since we are looking to intercept this moon orbiter. So at this point, what I want to do is bring this on down. This is close enough. And we would need to raise up our apoapsis here a little bit. Our inclination isn't perfect, but it doesn't need to be for this maneuver. So now we would warp around to here. Wait, we missed one here. Go ahead and interrupt our warps, please. In space near the moon's lowlands. That is the one that we missed. Okay, beautiful. So we'll grab that and continue to warp. Start burn in minus 41 minutes. What? No. This burn is supposed to be happening when we get here. There we go. 32 minutes. I don't know how that happened, but sure. We're going to warp our way around. We should exit in space near soon. So yeah, that's now in space high. That's absolutely fine. And we'll position for this burn very shortly. We've got about another 10 minutes to go. Hello, Kerbin. 2, 1, 0. Okay, so we've got another minute. We'll continue to warp along. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and... no, get back to prograde. I hit the wrong button there. We want to be at prograde, not retrograde. Okay, we're slightly late on the burn, but it doesn't matter. We just need to raise up our periapsis enough to encapsulate this. So then we'll set this as our target, and we can see our ascending and descending node here will match planes. So at the ascending node, we will just do a small burn here to other direction to match our planes. That is very sensitive indeed. Okay, that'll do. 9.2 meters per second. I like it. That'll be in about 7 minutes. So this is just going to be a very, very simple intercept, right? No real problems whatsoever here. Position there, and over we go. Excellent. About 1 minute until our burn. And we'll warp forward a little bit. 40, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. I'm not throttling all the way up here. This is a very gentle burn. 0.1 meters per second should be close enough. Excellent. Now we can look for an interception. So, what do we got? How's our timing looking? Not amazing is the answer. Not amazing, but that looks pretty decent there. So that is a separation of 10 kilometers. I mean, we can definitely dial it in. But we can just leave it here. That should be more than good enough. That burn is going to be in about 40 minutes, so let's get in position for it here, overshooting slightly. There we go. And let's warp around to when we're going to be doing that burn. We've got about 30 minutes now, and we got our world-first spacewalk in orbit of the moon. Yeah, that's the thing that happened. Bob actually got several of those. Good job, Bob. And we've got plenty of Delta V to make this all happen. No problem whatsoever there. So we're going to go into target mode, and we're drifting off of our marker a little bit. We don't actually want to go to target mode here. We just, really, we do want to just be on the marker. So that's fine. 40 seconds until the burn. 30, 20, 10, and 5, now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, we're needing about an extra 1 meter per second. That should be good enough. How are we doing? 9 kilometers apart. I like it. Okay, so at this point, we're going to be 9 kilometers away, and we should just warp down over towards about here. That's about half an hour away, and we'll definitely do so. Then, of course, we're going to need to get a little closer No doubt about that. There is our target, currently about 50 kilometers out. I'm not sure how close we... Ooh. Hello, stop that warp, please. Stop the warp. Stop the warp. Moon's Canyons. Got it. Okay. I'm not sure how close we actually have to be here for this to count. In visual range. So that's like 2 to 3 kilometers. Okay. That's not too bad. So at a certain point, we're going to want to... Let's see. This is towards retrograde. So pushing, I believe, is the direction that this goes. Or does it pull? It pushes. Okay. Noted. So we want to push the retrograde onto the anti-target marker so that we're heading towards the target and not missing the target. So we're going to position here, and we're just pushing this over towards the marker. Just very gently here. Cool. And we can see that we're barely moving with respect to the target. That's fine. At this point, I want to go around towards prograde. We've basically killed our relative velocity, and now we want to get closer. This we pull, so we want to move it out over this direction. We pulled it a little hard there. So I'm just going to burn directly towards the target at around 20 meters per second or so. There we go. Now we're going to flip back around to retrograde. And we may need to do a corrective burn here in a little bit, but for the time being, that's 8.7 kilometers. Yeah, we'll have to do a corrective burn. Let's go ahead and warp forward a couple of minutes here, and we can see these drifting apart. So now we want to head back over here and just push it right on back. Cool. Something kind of like that, but once again, that's killing our speed. So we really should probably be doing this on the prograde side, shouldn't we? The answer is yes, we should. And we should pull this right on over towards the target marker. Cool. And I'm going to burn in towards the target. I want to get closer by a decent chunk. So that is now a separation of 2.6 kilometers. That's possibly close enough. But let's bring it in a little bit more. Okay, 1.8, 2.0. This is probably close enough to be within visual range. Let's flip it around to target retrograde. Ooh, Midland Craters. EVA report, grab that. Fantastic. And we will head on around to retrograde. We'll warp forward a little bit here. And this is just a manual warp. Okay. 2 kilometers, and there we go. That is considered close enough for our contract. Moon's far side crater, we can definitely grab that. And we'll hop back in. And at this point, I would like to just kind of warp around here. And we don't actually have to brake. Like, we don't have to be going the same speed. So we don't need to do anything else here. That contract is now complete. So that's absolutely fine. And we can start burning prograde if we wanted to around here, if we wanted to return. Do we want to do one more orbit? Looking at the time on this episode, I think we should. So I'm just going to toss in a maneuver here as a timer. And we're going to warp on around. And we're going to grab whatever science we can from anything that we happen to fly over. And then we'll head on back. We're not going to do our actual recovery of this mission until next episode. I was planning on recovering the mission this episode. Hello, Northwest Crater. Cool. I was planning on recovering the mission this episode, but we ended up going for the rendezvous, so that seems reasonably fine. We're no longer interested in this guy. It's irrelevant. All we're doing is grabbing that extra little bit of science, so that'll be absolutely fine. We've got about 35 minutes on our warp here. I'm going to go up to 100x time warp. 30 minutes now. Okay, 20 minutes. It's looking like we've got virtually everything. East Far Side Crater, apparently we don't have. We'll grab that. Fantastic. Back up to 100x time warp. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Okay, so now we're going to hop over to prograde, and we will commence our return burn We can go ahead and set it up via a maneuver. It's going to be a pure prograde burn about right here. And we can just push that right on back. That gives us basically a free return trajectory. Beautiful. So that's like 100,000. Yeah, we want to bring that down to somewhere around, I'm going to play it a little safe, like 40,000. So something along the lines of that. But that return trip is going to be next episode. And of course, also should be a return to viewer contracts. So that'll be absolutely great. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James, Shadowwolf, Emilhan80, Ro Corvid, Kentogan, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Anna the Elephant, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.